Hey, it's Don the Auction Professor. Welcome to the live show. We are doing a different format. I'm actually in front of we have a 10-foot screen here. And this is literally, hang on just a second, let me do one thing. Literally where we watch movies in here. We just moved it around, give us a little more room. I'm going to be doing some other options. I've fixed our lighting. Hopefully the stream is playing and everybody can hear me well. We've set up a whole bunch of different stuff. I spent some time to get the feed better. And some other things are going on too. So I've got Patreon. Today I actually have questions from people who have sent these to me. I've got 11 questions on here that I just picked. I would have picked a few more, but these are questions that were literally asked personally of me, either on my channel, my Facebook, or through emails in just the last 2 days, and I figured I'd touch on some of those if we didn't have a bunch of questions coming in. And they're all things that are key to things going on, and that are questions that probably will answer some other people's questions as well too. So let's welcome everybody. I see Penny Day, Cougar 5999, Nancy Thomas, Herrick Kimball, and Robert Reagan again. Welcome everybody. Promoted listings on eBay. What do you think? Promoted listings, I do not pay for any listings. I do not pay the extra fee for any of them. That would be your personal preference, though. For what I sell, I don't have the need to do it. I haven't literally done it. Geez. We ran some tests on it once, and I get $25 free per store with an anchor store. So I have $25 in credits that I use. And in all honesty, I don't even use the $25 in credits, if that tells you how much I do on the promoted. I will do markdowns and things like that are on my side, like sales promotions is what I usually do, and I'll usually do 30% off on something, or 10% or 20%. I never do like buy 3 and get free postage or anything like that. Nothing wrong with that option. I already have people that multi-buy from me. And I combine shipping, so for me I'm not going to do the shipping discount anyway, so that works better for us anyway. And again, if it works good for me, it doesn't mean it's going to work good for you. It just depends on what you sell. We are mostly collectibles, antiques. I do clothing still. I've got a ton of records, oddballs, hard goods, brass, copper items, toys. I've got a ton of toys. I just sold in fact, I showed it in a haul video. And I'll probably show it on Saturday, so I'll just let it go at that. But I sold some Mark's toys for $225 just like an hour ago. So today is like, I think the average for today is like 1,000 in sales. As of right this second, we're at 705. So this is a good day for us. Again, fourth quarter's coming up. You got stuff coming in. You should have some money coming in. So, things should be going up. And I heard from most people, the majority, I think I got like 27 replies to some of the posts that I did on. Yeah, 27 replies. So we're running like a 74% of those people that replied on how they were doing had an increase. So, that's 3 out of 4 have an increase right this minute going in without even being in fourth quarter. So, again, when I'm quoting these numbers, these are actually for me researching something. I spend my time on doing this. And it doesn't just help you guys, it helps me too to see where we're at as a market. If I compared like my year to last versus this year on eBay, I'm like 78% up versus it says the overall market is only like 9% up. And again, those figures don't mean anything because they're based on your 2 top selling categories and what you sell the most of. And if you're selling every other month, what you sell more in changes. Like one month I might sell more records or Victorian trade cards or postcards or toys. It throws all that stuff up. I don't use any of that. I use projections. So anyway, hopefully that gives you a little bit on that. Brian the Oakbrook Picker, welcome. Michigan Fines, welcome. Tara Lee, welcome. Robert Koppel, welcome. DJT, welcome. Let's see here. Jada Gypsy. And who else do we have? That is it for right this second. Let's see. Thoughts on grading 60, 70 sports cards. Worth it. I don't grade off anything, honestly. I would just rather blow it out because once you start grading, you could run into a $15 fee per card. And if it doesn't come back at a good grading, if you don't know at least something about it, you could be sending them in and they're just not worth the grading. The only ones that really are worth grading are if you know your grades, which I don't, honestly. And if you get them like 9.5, 9.6, 9.7 or higher is what you want. They have to be in the mid to high 9s. Otherwise, it's just not worth it. In Gem, Mint, best you can get is like a 10. So I've never seen a 10 in my life. People buy them. I know why they buy them, because of the condition. It's graded. It's nationally recognized. But for the average common card, I would not spend the money. You can get discounts too if you bulk do them and if you go through Amazon. I have done Amazon certification. I spent the $200. I bit the bullet and spent $200 to have Elvis's 45 authenticated, and I do have guaranteed one Elvis autographed 45 record. I spent $200 with the discount through Amazon to have that done. It's the most I ever spent for anything like that. I was a little nervous that it might come back phony, but it came back good as gold. I've got a second one, so I'm almost positive I've got 2 autographed Elvises, and I may send off for that. Something like that I would have authenticated and graded, because your value in something like that's pretty high. The last Elvis autographed photo I sold went for like $1,000. So an autograph 45 may not go for as much, but I'm still, even with the 200 in it, I've got $1 I paid for the record, so I'm still going to get like maybe 600 profit back after I spend, the money on the 200, which is already out the door. So anyway, I wouldn't spend too much on vintage sports cards. If it's like a rookie, like a Pete Rose or something, I'm not even sure who would be famous or a rookie in the 60s or 70s. If it's somebody really famous, it might be worth it. And if it's a high dollar card, it has to be high dollar in almost any grade to make it worth your while. Otherwise, you're going to send it in, and if it's not graded up in the top, you're not going to sell it hardly very quickly at all. Because again, the ones that go for high and the ones that routinely sell are the ones that are high grades, 9.4, 9.5 or higher, usually up until like 9.8, 9.9. And they give you population numbers on those too. So let's say you've sent in a 1960s sports card and it graded super high, like 9.7. They'll give you a population number saying that there's only like 6 that graded that high. The lower the number that graded that high, the better the price is going to be that you can get out of that card. So, and again, if you're getting sent it in and it's going to be a common card and there's like 10,000 graded at that level, it's just not going to be worth any huge amounts in the difference. So I don't grade. Comic books as well. I sold some good ones today. Don't grade. Again, I'd rather just blow them out. I still get close, if not the average actual book price on them, comic book price guide price. And it's usually up a little bit higher than some others. But comic books, I don't expect to get a ton of money over and above what other people do. I'm right in the middle on comic books. As I said, some items I sell, I mark up horrendously. Other items I don't. Comic books, there's an immense amount of them available. Trade cards, there is very few of any specific card, and sometimes I have the only card that sells of that type. So, that's why I can price things the way I do. So just FYI. Let's see if I missed somebody. It looks like I have. We've already slid down. RCMA DX. I'm not sure how that's pronounced, unfortunately. I do apologize. Southeastern Ohio Picker, welcome. Kathy Steele, welcome. Chick Picker, welcome. Nancy Messina, welcome again. Maui Delights, Rock and Roll Resell. Let's see here. I've already said hi to Brian. John Carlson, welcome. Hopefully we have a good showing out today. I see I have some competition on this night. Unfortunately, there's more people that are doing live feeds apparently tonight than there were on Wednesday. So hopefully we keep some counts up here still too. So I'll just hit out a question here too. Now this is one that I've addressed even in my my critique, my store review from just the other day. I've had people ask the same question about how many photos. eBay recommends 7, eBay recommends 8. I don't pay attention at all to what eBay recommends on the photo amount. Like for most things that I list that are paper, I do not list more than 3 if it's a piece of paper. If it's a postcard, the most photos I'm going to actually take are 2. I will put 3 up. I'll put the front, the face of the card up twice, and I'll zoom in on something good. Postcards, maybe it's not necessarily as important to do that, but I still do it to an extent, just to get the only thing you're seeing on the main gallery image of the item is a good close-up of the best action in that thing. If it's a RPPC, real photo there, I'm going to zoom in on what's key. I'll get rid of all the secondary items and I'll show like the main item in there, like a battle scene or horse and carriage or a train shot. Something that would be just killer image is what they're looking for. And it does help it sell better. I can guarantee you without a doubt that we have run tests zooming in on paper items, especially vintage collectibles, paper items though specifically. Zooming in on something does increase our sales. Across the board, I have tested it way too many times. I see what other vendors or other sellers do. My competition all does it now. You know, I copied off one of my competitors, and now two other people have copied off of both of us, I guess you could say. So, you know, what I do does work, and I did it for a reason. I, you know, constantly do this kind of stuff. But anyway, but back to the photos. Again, don't take a ton of time taking a ton of photos. If 3 or 4 photos will do it, ignore eBay's comments that say you should have more photos. That is their recommendation. It's a across-the-board recommendation for every listing. If you've got a postage stamp, there is no need in the world to take more than 2 photos, a front and a back. And if you've got an item like a photo and there's nothing on the back, you still take a front, you still take a back. They have to see the entire item, both sides. There could be a slight blemish that wasn't shown because you didn't put the back in there. So again, that's just what I look for. It's been a big help. You know, the zoom in's more than anything, but don't waste your time taking too many photos. A lot of the people that I've looked at in a lot of stores, not just stores that I'm reviewing, but stores when I'm just doing random searches on eBay, I'll see sometimes 6, 8 photos, and basically half the photos are rehashes of the other photos. So don't spend too much time. Just same thing. And that was a question, literally. They think they're taking too much time. Don't worry about what the recommendations state. Don't worry about it at all. I have never paid any attention to that. You got to have at least one up, though, obviously. Always put 3. If you got to put 2 of the same one and zoom in, that's fine. But we take 2 photos, and as I said, we put up 3. The front photo goes up twice. So you don't have to take a third one to zoom in. You use eBay, and you crop the photo in there. It takes seconds. So anyway, like an old greeting postcard from New York. Greeting cards, if it says Greetings New York, a lot of those aren't going to carry a big value, especially if it's New York State. New York City, same thing. Those are multiple shot cards. There's thousands, tens of thousands of those. You want oddball, different buildings and things like that. So I wouldn't do anything that says like Greetings from. There's very few of those that sell. I've got one up now that I can think of, and it's only because it's a skiing shot from Tahoe. So, you know, that's a different story. I've talked about Lake Tahoe. That's the #1 area in postcards next to sports or real rare transportation, which I don't ever see hardly any transportation that high. It's usually sports is #1 selling in postcards, real picture postcards, or Tahoe. That's literally all I see for selling, you know, $1,000 or close to it. And there are some postcards that went for that. You know, it's potluck, you know, how that works. So, anyway. Will you do a video on shipping outside the U.S.? I have covered the basics on shipping outside the U.S. I've got like 254 videos up, I think, right now. I do go over, and I can shoot that out to you now. For shipping outside the country, I only ship certain items. You cannot ship one worry here. Don't ship any military items. Now, this is a question here. I'm going to touch on that in just a second on shipping, but I did the critique on mermaid treasures, and a subscriber pointed out that you can't send certain things out of the country because there's a regulation. I think it's ITAR. ITAR is the organization with the federal government that handles military items. Now, the booklets and manuals, technically by standard, are public access and are free and clear to send out. But I think I would still avoid sending them out overseas only because eBay doesn't pay attention to what is or isn't allowed in that category, and they may click it off. Now, I've sold those manuals, military manuals, for all kinds of things, even Springfield rifles and things, for 20 years, and I have never had one pulled or even had a comment made to me by anybody that you can't do that. I've never sold one out of the country that I can think of, so, you know, it's just a coincidence. Most people here are in the country. They're only going to buy the collectible ones. So that may be something you need to look into, and I'm going to send a private message to her as well, just so I don't miss anything here. But from my knowledge and my investigations into it, the manuals are public knowledge or public property at this point. You know, you can look at an entire manual online, and that is the deciding factor on whether it's public domain or not. So, and you can buy those manuals openly and legally at most every Army Navy surplus store in the country. And I've been in dozens of them, and I've seen manuals at every one. So I don't really see that as illegal whatsoever from everything I've talked to. And I've been to gun shows, I've been to military shows, and I've asked questions similar to that. I've got a couple friends who are big time into military collectibles. They know everything about them, guns, machine. One even has a Tommy gun. So, if that tells you anything. Neat items, so anyway, I do look into these when I have these questions. And I just wanted to address that. But back to videos on outside the United States. Now, most items, I try not to ship anything over 4 pounds out of the country as a general rule, just for practicality and expense-wise. Up to 4 pounds shipping out of the country can go first class international, and you don't have to mess with anything else or oddball stuff. And I only ship directly to a few countries. I do Canada, Germany, France, and UK, Japan, and Australia. Those countries I ship directly to from me. Everything else on the globe I ship only through the global shipping program. And I'm going to tell you why I do it specifically that way. If an item gets damaged, I sent a 78 record the other day overseas, and thank goodness it was, something that went to a country that I don't ship to, and I sent it global shipping. The item arrived damaged. He showed me the box. The box is pretty mangled. Now, if the item is shipped through global shipping, you are free and clear from any damage when it gets delivered to them, because eBay is supposed to inspect those when it hits their facility. If eBay does not inspect the packages that they receive from you at their shipping center, our shipping center, all my products go to Kentucky, and then I don't know how they're shipped from there, if they go to a hub in Atlanta and then overseas to a central location in Germany or wherever. But that's what happens. The minute it hits Kentucky, I'm free and clear, as long as they've passed it on. So, and it was passed on. The record was in mint condition when it was sent out. It was broken. All I did was call eBay. I called first thing in the morning. They instantly took care of it. They refunded the gentleman within 5 minutes, literally. And no question, he can't leave negative feedback on that at all either. He is blocked from feedback on anything about condition, arrival, speed, damage, any of that stuff. He can't leave condition. eBay takes full responsibility for that. So if it's fragile or something, you may consider not sending it through the straight ship on that. I ship 78s overseas. I've shipped them to Korea and all kinds of crazy places, and they've always arrived fine. But again, those are global shipping, so I don't worry at all in that case. And eBay is supposed to inspect them, as I said, but I have not seen any inspections or anybody saying any of the boxes have ever been opened. So all eBay does when they get the box, if the box looks good, it goes in a bin, it's loaded on a plane, and it's flown overseas. So, it's eBay's loss in that one. I'm sure people could scam them when they do that. So, I mean, they should be inspecting the boxes, but, that's on them. I did the right thing. I sent a good record, and I was a little perturbed that it arrived damaged and smashed, and that was something eBay did. So, anyway, that is the best part of the global shipping program. The gentleman wasn't, upset anyway. He'd still buy from me. He acknowledged that the shipping was very adequate. It was above and beyond what he's seen from other people. So, and the other people's product arrived fine. So, hopefully that answers a little bit of question here. I see we already have some more questions. Let me try and get questions out today too. And then if we have some time, I'm going to do my list here. Because again, I've got 11 questions. I've already got one down from actual people here who have asked these questions. Let's see here. I missed the bins behind you. I can just look sideways here, I guess. Yeah, I don't have any bins today. As I said, this is actually a 10-foot movie screen. We've got a pile projector, and there's curtains. It all blocks it off so we can watch movies in the middle of the day. It's almost pitch black in here, and it's I've got surround sound and everything. I'm big into movies. I love movies and stuff, so we have a movie area with a big sectional sofa. Maybe one of these days I'll flick it around so you can see what's out here. I've got Ian here now. He's all relaxed out on the sofa watching, so we've changed it around. There's a lot more room here. I've done some videos in this area before, but I'm trying to clean up my videos, trying to get a better quality of everything. I'm going to do a Patreon I'll have up probably this weekend with some bonuses with it as well too. So, I'm trying to work on everything here and invest some back into the channel. I haven't still seen a check yet, so, don't get me wrong. I've been on here for almost 6 months. Haven't seen a dime, so I'm not trying to make a big fortune off anybody. I'm just trying to compensate for my time, and have a little bit of ability to advance the channel to some points. I am going to be doing a feed on someone else's channel with them in the near future. It's just, have to work out the time and stuff. So I had been waiting and thought maybe I wouldn't, but at this point, I decided I probably will do it. And there might be a couple feeds. And I am still working on getting a couple feeds from either a live auction, if legality-wise I can, and if not, I'll be talking to an antique mall, as I said, and we'll be doing some feeds there. They won't be live, just because I can't guarantee their internet access or anything like that. It would be nice if I could, but I may even be interviewing the antique mall owner, so you can kind of see a little bit on the business side of that aspect of it as well, too. So I think that would be a good plus to a lot of folks who aren't in antiques, to kind of hear it from somebody who's been in the antique business as well and who runs these big malls. And it gives you an idea on the people that come in there, what they bring in, and things like that too. So that has been something in the works here. I just want to get all my feeds straight from this point before I go and add a bunch of other stuff to it. So anyway, hopefully that answers a little bit on the shipping outside the country. As I said, first class international, the countries that I named. And I will put a video probably just maybe touching on that. It won't be a long video because there's not a lot to shipping overseas. I wrap the same way wherever I ship because my wrapping is extremely good. And again, this is the first record I've had broken, or first anything I think I've had broken in a couple years. I can't even tell you when the last time I had something damaged in shipping. It's been a long, long, long time, So anyway, I'm sorry if you're missing the bins too, Rock and Roll Resale. Again, I'm going to have some backgrounds. I have a green screen that we've used in a couple videos. I might do a green screen back here. I don't want to get too flashy because I'm not looking to be flashy, but I do want it to look more professional. Maybe it's a personal preference just because that's how I am inside. I'm a very professional person. I do jokes and comical stuff. So, this is one of our glasses. I don't know how well you can see it, but I don't know how well you can see that there, but, that's my dry, droll sense of humor, if that gives you an idea. I'm not a big fan of the happy, smiley face, unless it's the glass set. I might sell that online, but anyway. I was just greeting from New York. Well, welcome. Let's see here. I never recommend shipping outside of the global shipping program run by eBay. I've been burned because most countries won't show delivery, and eBay will side with the buyer 100% of the time. RCAE Madiax, I'm not sure. I'm sorry again if I'm pronouncing that wrong. I have not had an issue to those specific countries and only those specific countries. Again, I ship directly to Canada, Germany, France, England, Australia, and Japan. Those are the countries and the only ones. In all of those countries, you can get tracking to their front door every time. I have never, ever, ever in all this time had an issue. And I've sent $1,200 records to the last record. I sold a $2,700 record not too long ago. That record went to UK without. I'm always a little nervous on doing it, but it just went regular first class. No issues whatsoever, So I do not have any issues with those specific countries. And in all honesty, big fan of our country. Obviously, I'm proud to be an American, so don't take this the wrong way. But in some cases, the other countries' post office has been better than what I've seen here in our country in some cases. And again, it depends on what your post office is locally. I've had some terrible postal people who've delivered my mail weekly to the wrong address, streets across from me. So, I've had packages almost destroyed in local mail even. I've had stuff missing, and just the name of stuff that's happened locally is horrendous. I talk to people in other countries when I do business with them because I've got people who buy religiously from me from Germany, Japan, UK, and a few from France that buy from me over and over and over and over and over again. So I've talked to them. We've had chats, text chats, and things like that. They have none of the issues that I see here in our country they have over there. The majority of them don't anyway. So anyway, hopefully that's a little bit on that. Let's see where we're at. It's a personal preference whether you use global shipping or not. I personally have more sales doing straight shipping to those countries, but I'm shipping pieces of paper. I am top-rated seller plus in every country on the globe. I have full open thing, and the only way you can do that, and the only way you're going to need to do it, let's put it this way, top-rated seller plus status in another country is big, huge plus to you. And I say that because if it's someone from overseas, they want to make sure that there is no issue in that you've sent a lot of packages overseas. And that's how they're going to trust you. If you've got top rated seller plus status for overseas, they're going to trust you, I guarantee it, over the other people. They know that you know how to handle your business, especially when you have, thousands and thousands of feedback. So that is a plus. And, people aren't going to buy as much from you if they have to go through the global shipping program for a $10 piece of paper, because it's $26, I think, is what the price is to ship these items to the UK through the global shipping program. Through me, I do these flat exact cost. It's $14 is what I charge to the UK. It doesn't cost me quite that much, so I'm compensated again with my discount through the post office, buying the labels online. I'm compensated for my final value fees and the shipping supply. So I'm out nothing. They pay for shipping on every single thing I ship out, but it cuts their costs down almost in half by them buying straight through me. And it also puts them in a spot where they'll want to buy more. Most every single person that buys from overseas from me buys a couple of cards. And it's probably like 85% of every sale that goes to those countries that I just mentioned, they buy more than one item. And again, it's the shipping cost is why. So, again, it's your call. You're going to have to play that by ear. You may have a different result than I do. You may ship your items to a different location that eBay picks them up at. So when that happens, you may have a terrible place that gets these items in there. And, it may not be practical for you to do that. So again, global shipping is great all around, but you're not going to get as many sales. And for me, I want to keep up my top rated seller plus status across the globe, because that increases your actual chance of even selling items through the global shipping program. If you're top rated seller plus, they're going to trust you all across the board from another country. If I'm buying from overseas from somebody on eBay, which I very rarely do anything like that, but I've always bought from the people with the best possible feedback because of the international aspect of it. I don't want an issue for an item coming overseas. And that's just how I've handled it for all this time. The countries that I stated, I have never, ever, ever had an issue with an item lost. I had one that was held up in customs where the person emailed me on it. I actually called customs. I didn't get anywhere at the phone call, but then I put in a request on it. I found out you can't request. So I asked the gentleman who did it, only you can request if you've actually been the person who sent it from most countries. Like this was a German item. He put in a request for a search, and they just sent him a notice stating it was at customs. Something happened at customs, and anyway, it took 2 extra weeks. He got the item. He was fine with it. It wasn't my fault. He understood it. But that's the only issue that I've had shipping directly to those countries. The items that I personally sell, toys I send overseas, again, up to 4 pounds. That is just what I've set my limit on, and I set that limit based on the fact that it's the limit for first class international. And you can't send adult magazines overseas either. So just keep that in mind. I do sell some adult magazines, mostly vintage. I don't do any of the really awful magazines, but I do a lot of the pinup style. Playboy I'm fine with, and things like that. So I do some of those. You have to have an open mind when you're selling items, and it doesn't bother me. If somebody likes it, that's fine. I take the photos of those items, obviously, because we do have minors that work for us. My kids, for one, are minors. They're not adults yet. So anyway, well, one of my youngest son is not an adult yet. My oldest one is obviously an adult, but anyway. Let's go back up here and see what we've got. Let's see here. Johnny Whispers, welcome. How long do you wait to open a case against a buyer who hasn't paid? Now, I'm not a rush on those anymore. I used to do that right away when I didn't have a lot of items up. These days, I usually give them, and I quote 7 days on mine. I quote, if they ever ask, how long do you have? Can I pay on a certain date? I get those questions asked. I usually say, thanks for asking. I really appreciate it. I have a 7-day payment window, but if there's something else you need, please let me know and we can work it out ahead of time. If they don't pay after that, usually between the 7 and 10 day mark is when I look at it again. At 10 days, I'll usually open up a case. Now, I used to have it auto set to open up, but what I run into is I have people now, and I've got 3 different people who will buy throughout the month, and they won't pay till the end of the month. And I do this all the time. They'll buy the items. Some people end up buying 30 or 40 items by the end of the month. They're not expensive items, and they're items for the most part that I don't sell as quickly other than to them. And some items I list just for these people that do this. So, I don't rush to do that. And once I open up the case, I usually wait another good 7 days, even though you can close the case. I think it's 3 or 4 days you can close it. I usually give them a few extra days, and usually I get a payment out of it. I don't really worry about that, because your worst case scenario is you open up a case, you block the seller when you end up closing the case, and you relist the item. That's all there is to it. If it's sold once, chances are it's going to sell again. I never worry about that. A couple times in the past, like with clothing, I worried about a return or something, and then the item just sold. Again, I haven't had any returns in an awful long time. I do have one now, and it was something I didn't actually have to take. This will be my first return this entire year, and I could have made him pay for it, but it was a trigger release for a camera. It didn't fit his camera. I don't see anything wrong. It doesn't look suspicious. I looked at the buyer's feedback, and I look at, when you look at feedback for buyers and you want to know if they're legit and how they're handling it, if they're trying to scam you, go to their feedback and look at their feedback and what they left for other people. When they're the buyer of an item, or even, an item, see what they left for other people. Look at the feedback they left for others. If you see a whole bunch that leaves, terrible feedback, keep an eye on it. But this person has nothing. He had a good history. He'd been on for a while. Stuff doesn't fit. It's worth the $350 to keep up. This guy, if I'm not mistaken, bought one other thing for me a month or two ago. I don't like to burn any bridges whatsoever, unless I have to. He might come back. So who cares? It's $350 out the window. I'll have to refund him the money, but I still have the item, and I'll just relist it. No harm, no fail. Mistakes happen. I eat some of them. I'm not worried about $350. It's the first one, and we're talking it's, September. So, that's not a long time to worry about it here. Let me see here. Hang on. YouTube's just jumping down on me here. Oh, too many people buying and not paying. It's been 4 days now. I don't worry if they buy it. Let's make sure I didn't miss anything. How soon is it possible, unless the buyer has been on contact telling me? I don't do it and rush to do it. You're going to end up losing people. Things happen. People forget about it. Somebody might put a bid in on the middle of the night and literally forget that they bid and not be back in line for 2 or 3 days. That's why I don't do it immediately. And 4 days is nothing. I have a 7-day time window there. So if they bought it on Sunday, they've got till next Sunday to pay for it. I'm never in a hurry. I don't push people. It brings in more sales to me. These people come back because if they have an issue, they know I'm willing to work with them. Even if they don't contact me, up to 7 days. And then at 7 days, I usually look at it. If it's somebody who's new, doesn't have a lot of feedback, I might open it, on the 8th day, but usually I wait till day 10. That's just me. Day 10 is my thing. Anything you can possibly do to make people happy with your business, even if they're not following the specific rules. That's what I do. And a lot of people who open them up, if you're opening them up immediately and you don't have a set policy anywhere in your listings that says, hey, I open up a case, or if you don't pay within so many days, they don't know. A lot of people do have a week time frame to pay these items off. So be careful on doing that, because you might tick somebody off. They might have dealt with 20 other sellers, and everyone had a 7-day window, and you're having a 4-day window. You might lose a sale that would have been a good sale. He just isn't going to pay for a week. And, on some of these, if they buy them on a Monday, I honestly don't expect a lot of people to pay till Friday, because that's payday for a lot of people. So, some people can only pay and buy things, on a payday. So, there's more to it. Don't be rushed to judgment on these. You might be losing a sale that is still valid. And as I said, even once I open up the case, sometimes I let it sit for 7 or 10 more days. So they've got 2 or 3 weeks. So there's no way on earth anybody could come up and say, hey, you didn't do something right, or give them enough time to do it. And if in doubt, send them an email, and just a nice email, just checking on you. Like when somebody I think should have paid, maybe they forgot, I'll send an email saying, hey, just checking on it. It's been 7 days or whatever since you bought the item. I have a 7-day payment window. I'm just checking and see on what your plans are. And that's literally, I leave it with that. And nice, sweet, short. I have a cut and paste that I can just pop in that statement. I've got statements already typed up for, half a dozen different things that happen. So that way I can just cut and paste. I leave a Word document open, and I don't have to even type anything. So, just FYI, that's what I do. It's safe. It gives you some leeway there too. And it's not going to hurt you. You've got like 30 days to do something with that listing. You have to at least open up a case within 30 days, and then you still have so many days after that. So I'm never in a rush, as I said. I'd rather hold out and get the money and just be done with the item. So anyway. Yeah, you can take it however you want. I've done this for a long time, and I feel that this is the best bet. It's going above and beyond, and I do go above and beyond for everything I can possibly imagine doing, just like shipping, packing, bending over backwards for some of the people. As long as they're doing what they say or make a promise they're going to do it, I'm fine with that, as I said, because I will let people pay at the end of the month. And I've been doing this for years. Once they stopped, taking checks and all that kind of stuff. You can still take checks, mind you. I've talked about how to do that if you want. But, I wouldn't be a rush to do that, honestly. If you have a ton of stuff up, it's not a deal. Even if you don't, you're going to probably cut some bridges that you don't want to cut. If the item's a good item, they may be paid a few days late. They may come back and buy some more items from you because they trust that you're going to sell them and you're going to be okay if they can't pay immediately. So, and if you sell a lot of toys and things like that in comic books, you're going to run into a higher percentage of people not paying right of way because they get paid on allowances, and they're usually younger people that don't make as much, so their funds are different than ours. So, and if they don't pay, I just close it off. As I said, block it, move on, and relist the item. No big deal, no harm, no foul. I don't worry about that. Every store has issues of some sort, just like returns to a department store or something. That's how I look at it. Let's see here. Welcome, Keith Ferguson. Well, I appreciate that, Keith. I try to put out content is key for us. Content is the most important thing. I'm trying to beef up my quality here. I've got good internet, but not anywhere good enough to run, standard, 1080. I wished I did. So we've been playing around with quality and, the videos as well, too. So anyway, I appreciate the comments. If you haven't hit the like button, please hit the like button for me. Let me know that you're really enjoying the channel. Old Man Reseller, hello from Edinburgh, Scotland. Welcome from Scotland. I have a friend who lived in Scotland that we worked with at Disney. Loved the accent. If I'm not mistaken, I think Sean Connery was from Scotland, if I'm not mistaken. I know he wears a kilt, so I've always liked him. Big James Bond fan back in the day. Looks good. Thank you, Brian. Don't do it. Be careful who you attach yourself on this YouTube. Yeah, I thought about that, DJT. I've watched the videos. I've watched dozens of videos from this other person here. I have been cautious. It's not anything more than an interview on another channel. And that's it. And they're not coming on my channel. I'm not reciprocating or putting anybody else on my channel this time. I let them know ahead of time that I don't plan on doing that. I want my channel, my content to be related to what I specifically do. There's not a lot of other people on YouTube that talk or are as invested into what I do as me. And I'm not trying to beef myself up or make myself look great or something. I'm just a normal person. I'm not a psycho in on myself person. But there's a lot of people that are mostly doing newer stuff and not so much antiques. I know there are some out there, but I feel I have a niche on YouTube to some extent that a lot of people just don't touch on. I've actually gotten some hate mail for actually putting videos up on the stuff that I do because they keep telling me I need to, charge for it. I need to do mentorships and stop giving away the information. I had a really bad conversation with somebody about that, and they were all upset and stuff. I'm sure it's another YouTuber that collects money on just what I'm giving out or on some of the items. So, I'm going to give out what I want to give out on my channel. I'm not doing it to make a fortune off of other people. I'm not doing it to have you mentor me. I've actually had a half a dozen people right now, as of right this very second, offer to pay me a set amount of money, monthly to mentor them. I'm not interested in mentoring anybody at this point. My goal is to do my business and advance my business as well as my YouTube presence to help people. At some point, I may do something else. I may branch out in other avenues, but I'm not looking to make my living off of YouTube. I'm just supplementing a little bit. And again, I haven't even seen a check from YouTube at all in any way, shape, or form, or from any of the avenues that I do online, social media. So again, I'm not raking out any profits here off this. I'm actually trying to help. I do love talking about what I do. I love talking about eBay and the whole aspect of this. This is all I do. I'm full-time across the board every single week of the year. I'm 60 hours in on eBay, literally. That's what I make my money, and I love doing it. I love flipping stuff. I love, honestly, what I do. I cannot tell you how much my life has totally changed by doing this, and if other people can change and realize that you don't have to be stuck in a dead-end job or even a job that, it's maybe not dead end, but might take you years to get there. I wasted 20 years of my life away from my family, my kids, working in restaurants and as a regional, hour upon hour, and I got nothing to show for it. I've got more to show from eBay than any other part of my life. And my whole life has changed in what we do, how we do it, our finances. I never live paycheck to paycheck anymore. Haven't in years now. I don't know how to explain for those of you who have never had a bank account with any real good large sums of money in it, but it's a thrill to look at my bank statements, and I'm not trying to brag at all. I came from somebody who lived week by week, even as a regional in some aspects, because I lived in D.C., and my apartment alone was $2,800 a month. And that was a cheaper one that was in a 30-year-old building. So, cost of living up there was horrendous. So, I'm in a different avenue now with what we're doing. And I have all the free time in the world if I want it. My life is my life now. Not to kind of drill on that. I'm not trying to brag at all. It took me a lot of work to get here. You have to want this. And I said that you have to have that vision and that drive to want. And I mean want this. I've never wanted something so bad in my life than to make this all succeed so I can have an income from doing what I want to do. I am sick to death of, working for somebody and the people above me making all the money, and I'm just, a peon. Even as a regional, you're still a peon to a company. I was in Kroger's today, and they had a bunch of bigwigs in the store, and everybody was running around, trying to kiss their butt and stuff. I was never that way. I did what I normally did, and if they didn't like me, I would snub my boss in a minute to run that store the way I wanted to run it. And if he didn't like that and he tried to get me back over there talking, if he thought I wasn't through talking to you, I didn't care. I said customers come first, and you can tell somebody anything. If you want to talk to me in the office after we're not busy, fine, but I'm not going to handle you right now. And some managers or my big bosses were fine with that. Others took an offense to it. But anybody who takes offense to that, is bad. And watching the people in Kroger's bounce around and kiss these people's butts, just reaffirms that, I've made the best decision in my entire life switching over to what I'm doing now. I can't state it enough how stress-free. And sometimes people have said you look tired. Maybe I'm tired, but, I'm happy. I can do what I want when I want. I don't have to do all the hours I do. I'm trying to increase my business. I'm not going to be happy with just staying the same. I want to increase across the board every month until I hit a plateau or we start some other avenues. And as I've said, I've got some books coming out, not eBay related. They're going to be actual novel. I might put out a chapter a time on an ebook on Amazon. I've already got it, all set up on their self-publisher page and all that too. But anyway, let's go back to some questions. I don't want to be ranting about myself. We're here to answer some questions today. Your biggest issue was Peru. Got scammed big time. Yeah, I don't do, as I said, those countries that I stated are the only countries on the planet that I will ship directly to. I will not ship to anything. I won't even ship to Mexico. Even being right here, that close, I won't ship to Mexico other than in the global shipping program. MK Frog Treasures, welcome. eBay just throws their hands up and says it's the cost of doing business. Yeah, I don't get offended when I hear the cost of doing business. If you're going to take this business seriously, you can't get offended. Let me adjust the camera just a hair. You can't get offended by stuff like that happening. It is a cost of doing business for us. I just, bite the bullet and move on. I already forgot about something that happens like that the very next day or even an hour later because I've got all this new stuff coming in on a constant basis all the time. So anyway, let's see here. Let's see. Yeah, I have a ton of sales through the global shipping program. Never an issue with eBay's program. Yeah, there is never an issue, as I said. They handle every loss, every issue that comes up. And again, I've never had any issues with the global shipping program because they do compensate if something gets damaged. But I've only had that one item damaged in a couple of years. Global shipping program or not. I just don't have broken or damaged items in the mail. Big Joe, the video game collector, welcome. How you doing? Studio 1231, welcome. Filing first missed mail today from buyer not getting them. Yeah, I mean, it's going to happen. I have a email question on an item that didn't show up yet. I'll have to look at that. I haven't had a chance. I just got it just before I went live. So, it's going to happen occasionally. You're going to have an issue once in a while. There's just no way to avoid every single issue that comes up. You're relying on a third party, which is the post office, and you can't guarantee that the post office is going to do the right thing. Packages can be ripped off on someone's porch, which we all have seen the videos on YouTube as well. And they could have actually been delivered to the house, but the postal employee may not have scanned it. Somebody stole it, and then you're SOL. Again, I write it off as a cost of doing business. As long as my percentage of losses is, in the 1 or 2% or less, which I'm not anywhere near even that high, I don't worry about it. I just, I deduct a few percentage points off of my margin. I'm running a huge margin. I'm running like 80% margin right now across the board. That's my profit margin. So I buy cheap items. You see the items I buy, they're really cheap items. Anybody who's following this or buying their own items knows how cheap you can get them at an auction or in bulk or, a state sale or something. Not everyone and not everywhere can you do this. Again, it depends on where you're at, regionally wise or whatever the case may be. Let me see about getting some more questions here. Let's see. Rock and Roll Resale. Germany has been trouble to ship to. A customer blamed the local beer. That's interesting. I'm flexible about payments as well. It sure creates some loyal customers. That is the point, Jada Gypsy. You got it right there. That is the point. I've started out slow doing stuff like this. I was nervous when I first did it. I didn't want to do let's wait till the end of the month and pay because I figure all these items are not for sale if the person has them sitting there and they don't end up paying. But they've always paid. Always. The only thing I can tell you, if you wait over 30 days, you won't be able to multi-invoice those items. Anything after 30 days drops off the ability to invoice. And what you're going to have to do to have those to be paid for is when that happens, I just add the difference into my shipping and the shipping cost. And the buyers from me already know this. And then I'll just go back in and mark it as paid. And then I go in and add the tracking number just like I would normally. Like if I do a combine and they've paid separately. So, it's not a big ordeal. I am very flexible, but I have a ton, and I talk about this all the time, I have a ton of return customers. I've got more than I think anybody that I've ever run into by doing this. But again, I've got loyal customers from almost 6 years of full-time sales. So I sell the same thing probably for the last 4 years. I've kind of dropped down on clothing after 2 years of doing it. We're running on our 6th year right now, full-time. And if you're going to keep selling the same things, you're going to keep having the same people come back. I control like 20 some odd percent of the entire category on eBay in some of the categories I sell. Like 20% of it. Some areas I control way higher than that. So, they're going to have to come to me. They don't want to tick you off as well either because they want the opportunity to come back and buy the collectibles that they love and want. And if they tick off one of the bigger dealers or a dealer that has a ton of stuff they want, they're not going to end up getting those items from you. So anyway, let me go down and get some more questions here because I know I'm always bad on getting the questions answered. Let's see how we're doing on time. I got plenty of time, so we're going to go on some more questions now. Welcome, Annie. How you doing? You said you were IT. I have an IT degree as well, too, so I know exactly where you're coming from. I took HTML, CSS, and the whole works. I have a web background, too, as well, too. So anyway, I just got here. I didn't get a notification for some reason. Yeah, YouTube is not sending out notifications to everybody. It's random. I don't know what the deal is. They said that they can't send them out all the time because too many people complain that their inbox, their bell is just flooded with stuff. I think that's a horrible thing to offer the ability to do it and then not do it. I know I've been late on coming online. We've got all the issues solved, as you see. So from this point on, you shouldn't have any issues. We're going to be adding more and more features to the channel every week. Next week, you'll see something a little better. I've already got it worked out, some graphics and things like that, too. And as soon as we get the situation with being able to add a second and a third camera in here, you're going to see some live issues on, trying to decide on what's good and how I pick items that are in big lots to purchase and things like that, too. I'll be able to show you some live so I can interact with you while we're doing this, so if you've got questions on what I do. So, again, I'm trying to see what would be the best on doing this. And I've been thinking about what I would want to have seen when I was just starting off. And I'm trying to give you the best possible stuff out here. So, again, content over anything. I know some videos I don't get a ton of views on. I'm going to still do those topics whether a lot of people like them or not, or they're not interested in them, because it is something that's important that I feel. And I want a complete package of how to do this. I don't want just the stuff that's going to get me the high view count. So I've got videos that only have a couple hundred views, and I've got some that have 3,000 and 4,000 views, We're fast approaching the 250,000 view count lifetime. I know some people get that in one day, so for me that's a lot. So we're running pretty good right now. So I'm trying to beef this up, and as I get revenue in, once the revenue starts coming in, I'm going to invest a lot of it, the majority of it, back into the channel. I'd like to make it the best as I can because, I want it to reflect how I feel about everything. So anyway, let's go back to the questions. Let me see here. Studio 1231, on best offer, when you get a ridiculous low offer, do you say anything or just... I usually counter back on every one. And if, let's say I have a $100 item up, let's say a postcard. I've got a postcard for $100. Chances are I know that it only goes for about $30 right off the bat, postcard-wise. Now, if it's a common postcard, and there's a ton of these postcards out there, I'm not going to price every postcard up 3 times it. Some of them I only put up $5 or $10 over and above what they usually sell for. You're going to have to learn some of that. I can't teach you everything on everything, so you're going to have to learn some of that. Overall, as I said, I do price things higher. So if I get, say, a $7 offer on that $100 item, I'll probably counter back at like $75 on it. And then see how serious the gentleman is. If he comes back and then offers $30, I may drop it down to $60 and see if he'll come up from that $30 and go from there. Now, if he counters back at $8, I've given him the chance to be serious. If he's not serious, then you can safely go ahead and decline that offer. That's all I do. I don't worry about it. We get dozens and dozens of offers in a day. And some days I've had as many as 100 offers in where it's taken me overnight, it's taken me, 20 minutes to sit here and go through the offers. Sometimes longer than that because I research some of the offers before I accept them to make sure that I'm getting the top dollar I want out of them. As I've said before, if I've got something up for a couple months, the price of that item could have changed. It could have actually went up. It could have went down because the market's been flooded or someone now seen that I have an item up and they've put similar items up. I had one the other day that I had sold for $18.50. And like an hour later, somebody came back and said, I found the same card for $1. Can I cancel this? I just canceled it. It's not worth, arguing with them or anything. I know it's a confirmed sale and they're supposed to honor it, but I don't worry about it. I didn't even block the person. He was polite about it. He even said, if I'm going to get stuck with, I understand. Had he not said that, I would have still done the same thing. I would have still canceled it. As long as it's in the first 24 hours, I will do it. After 24 hours, I'll give him a little bit of hard time. After 48 hours, I usually don't cancel it unless it's obviously going to go bad. I'll try to talk it into a sale, but, it's always best to cancel it because all they have to do is say that something was wrong with the item and return it, and then you're out shipping and the whole works. So anyway, the bad thing I know, but, there's no other option to that. The same thing works with Amazon. If you like Amazon, Amazon does that. If somebody's mad and you can't cancel it or whatever the case may be, they're just going to send it back and you're going to be stuck with it. So just keep that in mind. I take every offer seriously until they show me that they're not willing to counter back with a good percentage above what their first offer was. So hopefully that gives you an explanation on that. Annie's got a question. I have a lot of items that I should be cross-posting in an Etsy store. I've heard it takes a long time to gain traction on Etsy. We're taking time away from eBay Q4 prep to start Etsy. It depends on what you're selling. I have an Etsy store. I may share that in the future, but I have a different type of stuff up on Etsy. So it really depends. This close to fourth quarter, I honestly would stick to what's working for you. I know you've been up for a while, Annie, if I remember right. You went through a fourth quarter. As long as your sales are still up from last year across the board, I would not deviate from what's working now, but I would 100%, as soon as it slows down and you have the time, go in and change and start cross-promoting. I only cross-promote at certain times of the week when we do it. I'll usually list items for a 30-day period on eBay, which most of the time I'm good till canceled, but I'll do 30 days. And at the end of the 30 days, if I have time or extra effort or something, I'll have somebody cross-list at that time. And then you can just cross-list. I honestly hate double listing. In the past, I've listed like a record. I'll list the record on eBay, Amazon, and Discogs all at the same time, but it gets kind of confusing on where the photos are going and that, and it just wasn't practical. It seemed to take too long. I'd rather get the item up in one source where I have a better chance of it selling and then cross-promote. So answer to that is, I can't say what would work for you. If you got extra time, cross-list a few items. If you already have the Etsy store, that is. It's going to take you a little bit to get some ground and some traction on the Etsy store to get people into your store. If you're small and you're just starting out on Etsy, you're not going to have a bunch of items up and you're not going to be a big draw. You want a store that has a bunch up to at least draw somebody into your store. So, that's part of the factor of having a bigger store is being able to draw people in. So hopefully that answers that, because again, I wouldn't do anything other than worry about fourth quarter this close to it. If you got a ton of items you don't have up, I would more than worry about the ones that aren't up, to get those up and be ready for fourth quarter than to be going to any other avenue or any other aspect on that. So anyway, let's move on here. Do you mind if we share this video? Depends on where you're sharing the video. You're welcome to. The share option is there. I'd rather not post it on somebody who's going to abuse the video or chop it off. I don't want to see it on someone else's channel for money. I don't want the video uploaded to anybody else's or pretending that it's anybody else's video but mine. That would be a violation of my channel and YouTube's policy. So if that answers the question. I do share the videos on YouTube and places. I don't mind you sharing it with somebody else. Obviously, I'd appreciate you sharing it with somebody else. But anyway, hopefully it answers that. If we can hit the like button too, if anybody's enjoying the video, please hit the like button for us. I know I always get that one or two negatives, and I'm sure it's the same person or two. I don't really care anymore. Disney Family 515, how you doing? Shirley Campbell, how are you doing? I almost missed you, Shirley. Sorry. Hi, Don. I just found you recently. I've been selling on eBay from the very early days, and I'm still learning lots new from you. Thank you for sharing. Well, I appreciate that. Thank you very kindly. I've sold since eBay was called eBay, the very first year, so I have a good overall grasp on all of eBay. There's some things that I don't mess with. I've never done the car sales and the new status. I've sold an RV online for a ton of money before. It was a preview, if you know what that is. But anyway, now down to Disney Family 515. Thank you as well. Having the motivation, I am telling you, that is key. The motivation is really what you want. If you don't have it, you're not going to be as successful, in my personal opinion. Again, you could have totally different results than I do. I can't say how your results are going to be. It really depends on what you got into it. The more effort, the more energy you put into this, the more you're going to get back out of it. And I don't care what anybody else says, that's a fact. I work very hard and we get good results out of it. When everybody else is telling me they're slow, they're dead, they're having this problem and that problem, I just work through it and keep going. If something isn't working, I change it up. I do projections every single week. Every single day in fourth quarter, I do a projection. I've got a video on that. If you know, just go to my channel, go to the video section and type in projections on the search in my channel, and you will find that video. The projections is in the title. I honestly recommend that. When I'm giving you my daily sales, like $800 a day, that is my daily average sale from my projection totals. So, it's very easy to do. That's the number I look for. I don't look for a sell-through rate at all. I don't care what a sell-through rate has to do with my business. It does not affect me. My items sometimes are up for years. One of the questions was, a lot of YouTubers saying 50% sell-through rate is horrid. Now, again, it depends on what you sell. One model does not fit all, and it's frustrating when people say you have to have a high sell-through rate. You do not have to have a high sell-through rate to make a ton of money on eBay or Amazon. If you sell higher dollar items, you only have to sell a couple of those a week to make a lot of money. If you're selling $2,000 items, one or two a week, you're making some decent money depending on what you pay for those items. Your sell-through rate means nothing depending on what you sell. If you're selling clothing, you need to move it, and clothing isn't a big seller. So in some areas where you have more invested into the items, you want a higher sell-through rate so that you're not sitting on a ton of money as in inventory. If you've got a ton of inventory and it's not moving, let's say let me put that a different way. If you've got a ton of money into your inventory and it's not moving, that is not a good thing. For us, most of my items are paid for immediately because I'll pull something out of there and sell a couple high dollar items, and then boom, all my money's back, and then I've got hundreds of other items from those lots or from a pick or whatever the case may be that come in, and I've got all these extra things to sell. So all the rest is profit after the first one or two items are sold. So I don't care if it sits on my shelf. The only cost I have into it is pennies into listing it. And again, we get 20,000 free listings a month. I get a 2,000 free auctions as well as those. So I've got those, and then I've got another 20 some odd, 24, 20. I think it's like 2676 more besides those 20. So I got 46,000 26 listings, I think, up right this minute. So, I don't worry about all that other stuff in there. It's just not worth my time. Let me see here. Let me go back down. Triple Z resell. Yeah, you've got to want it. You've got to literally want this. Excuse me for a second. I've got major motivation. I worked hard. I didn't make a ton of money, working even for somebody because of the area of the country and things like that. Looks like we're playing a little off here on the channel, but anyway. You've got to have the drive. You've got to have the want. It's the only way this is really going to work. There's a lot of people who are doing it, just think they're going to make a living. They think it's going to be so easy. None of this is easy. None of this is something that you can just say, boom, everything's going to be fine. I'm going to make a ton of money. I don't care what anybody tells you. You can pay a ton of money for somebody's course on YouTube. You can pay a fortune on it, and you can find out that, when hundreds of people are paying for the same course, there's no way on earth that all these people are going to have the same results as the person who has the course. And a lot of these people who have courses are only out there to sell you the course, and they don't care about whether you're successful or not because they've already got their money up in the front when you paid for the course. So, there used to be a lot of those like job service boards that you would pay money to be on their job. We're fine. But anyway, so sorry, we've got an error going on. Just a second here. If everybody can still hear and see me fairly well, if anybody can holler back out here just to make sure. I see it on my end, but I can't tell what everybody else is getting from here. I still see live feed coming out. So if somebody can holler up and pop something on the bottom, let me slide down to the bottom. Let's see here. Okay, just want to make sure we're all set. Can I refresh? Just don't refresh the live OBS. Don't refresh that. You can refresh the YouTube. Okay. Oh, well. Hang on, folks. We're just going to see if we can clear off. A couple people said they had errors, too, and I have one here, too. So looks like we're still live, so everything should be fine. Disney Family Triple gets me fired up, too. Yeah, you got to be fired up for this. I mean, it's the only way that this works for us is you got to be fired up for doing this. It's got to be something that you really got to be into. I like what I do, so for me, it's the biggest plus. I hated what I did in the past. I loved it when I first started, but, working in the food industry, it's a tough job. It's a dirty job, and you really got to get down and dirty. And I still have that same mentality. I want to get down into the business. And that's why I say, when you're doing eBay, do the numbers on a piece of paper. Do the numbers manually so you know more about your business than most people. So you can sit there and calculate it instantly somewhere else. You got to know your numbers, your business inside and out. I know people tell you otherwise, but for me, I want to know every aspect of the business. I want to know where every dime of my money went to. I can tell you where every single penny I spent went to. I keep receipts for everything. I track everything. I track my sales. I track my percentage of profit, my year over last. And I use my own figures. Everything else is done by myself, same forms. Everything's in Excel. So anyway, let me see here. Are people feeling threatened by you or your... I can't say it's awesome content, but thank you. I think people are upset from what the conversations... I know I had a couple with several people, and maybe the same person under different YouTube handles, but they said I should be charging for all this. I should, join some group or... I'm not going to name out any groups that were mentioned here because I don't want to call anybody out. I'm not one to cause any beef with anybody else. What they do is what they do. But they mentioned some specific places, and I'm not interested in doing anything like that right now. And, I'm putting out content. People may not like what I do. They may think I should be charging it for it because they charge for similar style of content. But, this is me. At some point things will be different. But I do have a Patreon coming out, and I'm going to have some different content and some more, I guess a few more insider things in my Patreon. I'm not going to go hog wild on it. It's to support this channel more than anything else. So, I've had some people say they're interested in Patreon. I am going to put one out there. I've been procrastinating on it because, again, I am not a social media person for the most part. I am mostly an eBay or online reseller or seller. So, and I've got some things going on, too. So, I've got my tested package. I'm sending one of the trilobites to tested. So if you don't know what tested it is, I will call out tested Adam Savage's tested from Mythbusters. It's one of the few channels that I watch and check on every time he has a new video up there. I don't watch all of them. I don't like it so much the talk ones, but I love him showing the stuff. That is my style of thing that I watch a lot of. So I'm hopefully they'll see and love my resin kit, and maybe it'll be on the channel. But that's one of my goals. I'm all psyched up about that. I'm still waiting on an answer from the art museum here. So, that still isn't up to the deadline when they'll get an answer. So anyway, I get pumped up and beefed up on things like that. I love my business. I love what I do. I love the expansion that we've done. I love the art aspect of it. I love the all-around ability to pretty much sell or market anything online that you want. And again, you're going to have to find the venue on some of these, so anyway. Treasure experts packing in the night. Yeah, I pack sometimes in the evening. Usually Sunday nights I pack up. So, Edward Dixon. Forgot about the live show. I still made it. You can watch it again afterwards. It's always posted up afterwards. Thank you, Jennifer. I appreciate that. Let's see. Annie. Reselling is about 95% less stressful than my other job. And I'm my own boss for the other one. Okay, I see exactly what you're saying. I've done some web pages and stuff like that too. So, and I've done some hosting and things like that. So I understand. I like doing this. I'm never stressed out, even when something bad happens. I never seem to have those issues where I'm just majorly stressed out over these things. It just doesn't work that way for me. I'm used to having like my windows bashed out in my car because I fired somebody. That's happened to me. They've busted out my windows. I've had my tires slashed. I've had bottles of beer thrown at me in a restaurant. I had to even get police in there every Friday and Saturday night because it got to be terrible in an alcohol establishment in the city that I was working in. So, every night was stressful. Every night I didn't know what was going to happen. Every night I've had people die where I worked, and I've had to handle it. I've had people clobber some guests in a resort. I had an employee run over two elderly folks walking across the street in their golf cart, and flipped the golf cart, smashed the golf cart, compound fracture in the wife. She was unconscious. The gentleman had a concussion. And this is something I had to call these people's family. So, you want to talk about stressful, to explain that someone working for you while you were in charge of a facility crammed somebody in a golf cart at 20 some odd miles an hour. I had to get the police out there. I had to deal with the family. I had to go to the hospital with these people. I got my boss telling me, don't admit guilt. It's so obvious that they hit these people. I mean, I don't know how I could honestly feel good about saying we didn't do it. So there's a lot of stress in any place you work. Well, thank you. I see somebody did a super chat, but I don't see a name on it. I don't know if that is YouTube doing this to me again. I've had some issues with YouTube not showing it, but I see we will get down to it in a minute. Let me move on here. iPhone left pocket feedback. A bunch of gibberish on buyers' accounts, and eBay will not fix. So ridiculous. You can, I believe, unless it's a whole bunch of them, you can ask to have the feedback, or I think those people have to have it. If you email the people you left the feedback for, they can request. Well, again, if it's positive, I don't think that'll work. Yeah, you can't change positive. If you left positive feedback with gibberish, there's nothing you can do now that I think about that. They can, I guess, request you to change it, but I don't know if that works for positive feedback. I haven't had that come up, but I have seen gibberish. And back in the day, you used to be able to set up the feedback, and it was on a rotational basis. And one of my feedback blank lines had some screwball gibberish that I accidentally typed in, didn't realize it was in there. So like every fourth feedback was some really screwy one. And if I remember right, I would have had to have done a bunch of emails, and the first one or two people I asked about that said that wasn't worth getting into, and I think eBay said they wouldn't even mess with that if I'm not mistaken. So hopefully that answers that. I would just leave it if it's positive, or if you're really bothered by it, email the people who you left it for and see if they'd like to have it revised. I think if they put a revised notice in, eBay has to fix it, or let you revise it at least. Let's see here. Sold a record to Russia for $1,000 over calling eBay. They told me GSP covers $125 to there. I canceled the order. That's a tough call on that one. It depends on what you had into the record. I have not dealt with global shipping program with anything high dollar like that. I couldn't tell you. I'd be a little nervous on that myself. If you have it listed as a country that you ship to, technically I think they could actually leave you negative feedback after 7 days. I'm pretty sure that's the case. I think after 7 days they can leave you negative feedback if they wish to. Well, thank you, Michael Whelan, and thank you, Cali to Cali. I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong. My pronunciations is sometimes terrible, but thank you both. Let me pop back up here. I don't want to not call you out in case I forgot. I always appreciate super chats. I haven't got a ton of them because I don't go pushing it. I even forget they're on there half the time, honestly. But I thank you very kindly. I am not in IT exactly. I'm a branding consultant designer, and I build code websites and design for print. Oh, okay. Well, I took graphic illustration in college, and we designed packaging and stuff, so I kind of get the gist on it. And I've done some web design. As I said, I took HTML, CSS, PHP, VB, and C+. And I have an A+, a Net+, a Safety+, and a Microsoft cert for server-wise. So if that gives you any idea. Let's see here. Flipping particles, do you phone give them positive or negative? Yeah, that's the point. If you gave them positive, I wouldn't really worry about it. If you email them and they're bothered by it, different story. I'll try to watch all of your videos. Yeah, I've got a ton of videos up. 254, I think, now. Lorna Hart, welcome. What do you do about an original price tag printed on an item? Just got a neutral because I didn't sell it to him for that price. You don't have to sell it to somebody for any price on that. It's supply and demand. If it's written on the package, print it on it. That's an iffy one. I would just sell it like that. Or if you really want to do something, I know some people who have gotten, I don't know if they bought them or what, but you can buy these off of, shoot. I wish I could remember the name of the company. I'll think of it, though. But there's a company that sells labels, and you can buy your own price labels and put a price on it with a little label gun. And it's like, I think it's like $20 or something. I have a friend who does this, and he'll put a new label over the old price like it's a store label, just so they can't come back and say that. Now, that is something that I've heard people do, and I've seen it in person. So I wish I could remember. The same company that does day dots, if you know what day dots are, they're dots that you put on for days of the week for production in a food establishment. They have, it's a handheld pricer, and it comes with the stickers, and they're price stickers that look like professional product stickers, and they'll literally put another sticker over the original price that's higher than the price on there. It's not false advertising if you don't mention it and you're not calling out the price, because the price on those things doesn't matter. The price you paid for them is what's the issue. You can't really do much about a neutral. You can't ask them to revise it if they're upset. I mean, you can, but chances are they won't. I would just put a comment and reply to it stating that that is the price they paid. There was no misleading whatsoever in it. As long as you're not hiding anything, there's nothing they can do. I would not hold that against somebody personally, myself. You'll get all kinds of people leaving all kinds of comments for all kinds of reasons. A neutral isn't going to hurt you. It's still going to show up as 100% on your feedback if that's what you're running. So I wish I could answer you better and have a better answer for that, but that's the best I could say for you. Yeah, positive, I would not worry about it unless they're really into it. Yeah, and Annie, that would be that would be what I would do. I would wait till after fourth quarter. I would key in on just getting the stuff up right this minute. I don't sponsor anything. I love gamers like you. I don't sponsor anything. Never. I never pay a dime for any other aspects from eBay whatsoever. It's just not something I do. I won't advertise. I won't post. I won't do any of that. I only do the sales that I do not have to pay for my sales marketing. Yes, thumbs down. I mean, I'd rather have everybody like the video, so if you haven't hit the like button, please hit it. But a thumbs down does not hurt a YouTuber in any way, shape, or form. It is not anywhere in the matrix to go against you whatsoever. So everybody doesn't like everything that I do. I'm not offended in any way. You got to have thick skin to be on here. To be a regional manager in general, you have to have some very thick skin. I fired a person with cancer, and her husband came in there just blowing up a storm. It was a business decision because she could never tell me when she was going to come in. And when she told me she was going to come in, she wasn't there, and she never had a reason why. You've got to have a real thick skin. As I said, I've had windows bashed out. I've been threatened. You name it, I've seen it happen. The wife knows what I'm talking about. We've had to deal with some stuff. Let me see here. Holly Fisher, welcome. Let me see here. Guy Mondo 307M. Yeah, I don't worry about it. I know one of them is someone from Facebook. I'm not doubting that whatsoever. You can tell when they're left versus when you post a video. So I don't worry anymore. I don't even care about that anymore. For every thumbs down, I get hundreds of thumbs up. We've got a couple hundred thumbs down, and I've got like 13,000 positive. So I don't even. It's a tiny percentage of everything. So I don't really care. Let me move down here. I had to, refresh. It seems like everybody had to do. Still fine, good. Lost sound, adjusting quality setting to get it back. Okay. How you doing, Diego? I am sorry. I got a few RPs with not any writing on them, so I can't do it. Post them up in my Facebook group, Diego. How do you find you're burning out? How do you keep from burning out? I love what I do. How do I keep from burning out? I get to see my kids every day. I get to see my wife every day. I'm home every night. And I love what I do. I love the antiques that I sell. I would probably collect a lot of this stuff, had it not been a business. I try not to collect anything that's a business of mine. I'm going to be showing you some military items, which are some items that I collect. I might show you some of my cabinets of collectibles that I've picked through the years. I'll pick and save better items. I've got some of my higher dollar stuff that I've saved. I've got some stuff in the deposit box as well too. But anyway, welcome Jersey Pickens to be a cat vintage. Welcome. We are looking to expand our store listings for fourth quarter. We are just a 2-person operation. How do I hire additional help? Make sure you can afford it, and it's actually going to change what you do. If you're just the two of you and that's all you do full time to be a cat vintage, I would put in a lot more hours, just the two of you, to see how much more it's going to help you. You're talking it's going to cost some money onto your expenses. You're going to have to make sure you're able to handle the tax aspect of it. I pay an accountant. I'm very cheap, so I only pay out a paycheck once a month, but I do cash advances because that doesn't cost me a dime through my accountant. So there's ways to lower your accounting fees to compensate. I'm cheap. I always talk about this. Any way you can do that is good. So if you can lower your accounting fees by, only offering one paycheck or whatever the case may be. Now, ours, I only can have 10 employees working for us. If I go more than 10, my fees will be increased through my accountant. So make sure it's financially feasible. Calculate out the cost of how many hours you want to do, your expectations on, again, do a projection. The expectations on how much money you expect this to increase you. You can judge these numbers by the items that you currently list as long as they're the same kind of items. If you list 100 new items and you have an increase of a couple $100, you can judge that you can afford to spend $40 or $50 above and beyond to get the payroll out of this. So you only make a $150 profit, and $50 of that will be going into your cost to hire somebody. Make sure you cover your costs first. Make sure you know what you're doing and you're safe on your costs. Money-wise, I track every dime, and you better know where your money is going. Everybody, I promise you that's going to be the best bet. You'll be fully invested in it when you can track all your money, and when by doing this, when you track every dime, you know where you're spending money where you shouldn't be. You know when you're wasting stuff. If you keep buying the same item and you're not paying enough attention, it could be an item that's no good and you're not paying enough attention. You don't know that. Here, we're getting down here on time, so hang on here. Let me try to get some more questions in here. Cali hi to Cali. Again, welcome, thank you. I appreciate the super chat. Hopefully I pronounced that right. Again, I don't want to butcher anybody, but we're finally getting down here. Again, I talk, I'm long-winded, I know it, I apologize. So I'm just now getting down here. Edward Dixon, I feel like this is more of a reselling family, people actually caring about each other, doing good and sharing. I love your channel and foresee great things in your future. I will keep growing. Well, I appreciate it. Thank you very much. I am who I am. I've had a real rough time in my youth. I lost my father. I wasn't a good person. I did some bad things, as everybody does. But you've got to, come from somewhere. I know where I don't want to be. I know where I do want to be, and I know how to get there now. Working for somebody else, I never saw a path to get to where I wanted to be comfortable. I never saw it. It was never there. You have to be so far up. Most of the money in any company or corporation goes to the top of the company, and the rest of us peons got nothing out of it. I would far rather make less money and be happy than not. But again, I got both the best worlds. I'm making way more money than I have ever have in my life. and I can do what I want. I'm here for my sons. I'm here for my youngest son. I'm here for my oldest son. I'm here for the wife. We can go somewhere. I can go back to bike riding in the mornings every day, or whatever I want to do. I've got the ability to do it anytime I want. I can drop what I want to do or what my business says and go do something else. I can put all my listings on vacation if something emergency happens. I can bring in an employee to cover for me if I need to, or whatever the case may be. You know, there's so many options when you do it this way. Welcome, Rich Sanders. Let me see here. Let's see if I can get some more questions in here. Reflective stickers. Yeah, you can put a sticker over that. That's what I said. The people that I know put price stickers over it, you know, so it looks like it came from the store at a higher price. The original price means nothing. A store can mark it up. It's a suggested retail value or retail price, so just keep that in mind. Patron-wise, genealogy guy, I'm going to have a couple videos in the first month. I'm going to add a couple extra videos. I can't afford a ton of time in there because, again, my Patreon is to help support this channel, but I'm going to have some insider stuff. You're going to have a complete list of every video, what's in them, and as well, you're going to have all my documents, all the forms you could possibly imagine to do eBay. I'm also going to be giving out free autographed. Again, I'm not autographed as a social person. My autographed artwork is what I'm going to be giving away. You'll get new ones that come out depending on your level. The lowest level will obviously be call-outs on the channel if you'd like a call-out. Always get a thank you and the best of it. But depending on your level, I'm going to have, you know, every time I put out a card or something, you're going to get one of those. One of the higher levels, I may do, you know, like a personal sketch, some things like that. But there's the first two videos. One's going to be a trick that I guarantee you've never seen anywhere else on how to do some things with paper when other people can't. I'm going to show you some insider stuff. That's going to be my first avenue. I've got two videos. I've shot one. The second video I have, and it's going to be some real insider stuff, something that's going to be able to increase items' value across the board. Again, it's my secret. A lot of people don't know this. Even the people who do what I do don't know this. So again, not to brag, not to put anything out there, but I've invested a lot of time into doing what I do. I've taken some conservation of art in college, so I do know a little bit more than the average person on some things. So I'm going to address some of those things. And as I said, you're going to have a complete access to all the videos. You're going to know which one's which. You won't have to spend time searching. And I'm going to be putting other stuff up there. I'll put posts on specific days and dates that you should have things up. I'll try to get you a schedule based on my sales history as well, too, on Patreon. So there'll be stuff that you can just click and instantly have right there in front of you. It'll be a list of items that I have, a list of items that I do. Now, I do. Amazon did offer me, and I do have a influencer page on Amazon as well too. And I'm going to have some other items on there that necessarily aren't selling items, but I am a huge music buff, and I'll have some motivational playlists that I'll have out for you too. I've researched songs, so I'm major nutso on songs and 90s music and early R&B and old school. That's my thing, and for some of you, it might be a good plus, you know. So anyway, there's going to be a bunch of different things on there, but there will be special videos, as I said, just there. Let me see here. Love your broadcast. Not sure about the white background, though. Yeah, welcome, Patrick. The white background right now, it's probably going to be a green background. We're going to do some green screens here just so I can have something a little more motivational. Maybe we'll be out in the field or something. You know, the background was part of the issue was the sound quality. I have no way to dampen the sound where we were at. It's a small area. There's not enough room to get everything around. So anyway, let me get down and get some more questions. We're really running out of time. I usually have to cut it off around 8:30. We've been on right on 7 o'clock. And as I said, from now on, there shouldn't be any issues with being right on at 7 o'clock. When you list similar items which you want the same buyer to purchase, how long in minutes should they be apart? I never worry about the time between the items ever because they're all buy it nows for us, or the 99% of them, so it doesn't matter when I list it, Thomas. That's what I do with it. Welcome. Anastasia, register. I'm always bad at pronouncing your name. I am so sorry. Yeah, quality is what we're shooting for on the video, so I appreciate that. Thank you. If you haven't hit the like button, please pop that like button down there for me. I'm curious about watch lists on bin with best offer. Do most people watch items with bin best offer simply to see when an item will sell for because they have the item? Yeah, that can very well be. People can be watching your item just to see what it sells for. But in all honesty, most of my items, I honestly feel that the majority of the items are people that are waiting for it to go on sale or waiting to see what I'll do with the prices. Most people who buy from me know that I usually put the item up really high, and then as time goes by, I'll lower it. And again, because a lot of times I'll sell the item. I'm going to talk about a specific item on Sunday's video, something that we just sold today, and I'm going to go over a little bit on that. And Sunday, I'm going to give you some more philosophy, more than I usually do, just because I've had some things happen this week. It's all good stuff, nothing bad or anything. That some thinking that I have, and it's hard to throw out everything that I do to let you know my philosophy and thinking on things. And again, just because I think of it this way doesn't mean it's not going to, or it's going to work for you or not going to work for you. You're going to have to play with some of this yourself and see, if you can tailor some of what I say to your own specific business. It's hard to have a one plan, one package fits all. It's just impossible, at least for me to see that happening. So anyway, but we're going to have to cut it off here in just a minute. And again, I apologize. I know it looks like we've just got some new watchers on. Let's see if I can pump out one more question here. Thanks, everybody. Yeah, Renee Dixon, they don't push them out anymore as much as they used to because too many people complain about too many notices coming out. So anyway, we're going to have to cut it off here in just a minute, and I am sorry about that. Yeah, we're running right on the dot. I have employees here till 8:30. I've got room for maybe, let's see if we can get one more last question in here. There's a site where you can see what an item was sold for, even if a best offer was accepted. Well, if you're talking about Worth Point, Jersey Pickens, I don't pay for any of those. Not saying they're bad for most people, but I don't mess with those. Sometimes you can actually see what sales prices were just by doing a Google search from past items. Yeah, and I do watch other people's items just to see if it's something I want to sell. So it's not a bad habit. Waiting for an item to sell to get a price is not very efficient. Yeah, it's not efficient, but if you've got a ton of items and it's not a huge ordeal, I have done that. I'll set stuff aside if I can't find comps, and then I'll come back and look in another month or two to see if some of those items have shown up. But I hate to cut this out and cut you off short on here. We've run about an hour and a half, and that's usually about my time. But I appreciate everybody in the video. I appreciate all the help. But we're going to have to end it. Again, thanks for everybody. If you haven't hit the like button, please hit the like button for me. And I wish you all a good night and some happy sales.